I love this. I love everything about this. This pretty much encapsulates everything, and I mean everything wrong with Star Wars now. I'm not joking, being hyperbolic, or even exaggerating. Everything about Star Wars, the High Republic, which doesn't make any sense. I don't know what the hell the High Republic means, but everything about it just screams, "Hey guys, we didn't learn our lesson. That's something we didn't do. We didn't learn our lesson. Even though our merchandise is tanking, our like Galaxy's Edge is kind of a flop, and and fans are just not invested in anything outside of the Star Wars games, what was the Fallen Order and the Mandalorian, things that have almost nothing to do with mainstream Star Wars and focuses on a lot of prequel and OT content. But even despite everything we've seen, we're still doing the same old shit. Now, this project hasn't come out yet, so I can't really say what its quality is going to be. But I stand by the fact that at the end of the day, we, as fans, as consumers, have every right to judge this by the trailer alone. This trailer is garbage. A lot of people are going to say that's a bit harsh, but no, it's garbage. It exemplifies everything wrong with Star Wars, like I already said. So to get pleasantries out of the way, I just thought it would be nice to go over why none of this, and I mean none of this, actually works in the context of trying to make the next Star Wars. I want to say uh, project, because I think it's going to be like a bunch of books and TV shows and stuff like that, and eventually a movie. Which I will give props for. At least they have a plan. At least they went in knowing what they're going to do. So they automatically get like a giant big gold star over whatever the fuck the sequel trilogy was. They actually have a plan, thank God. Um, let's start off with what they said. They basically said they wanted to make Star Wars, a platform for new ideas, and the High Republic is going to take place 200 years before the Skywalker saga. Um, yeah, 200 years before that. They're too pussy to actually go back before the prequel era. Much like the Mandalorian, just doesn't have the guts to actually leave the OT era. People say the Mandalorian, oh, it's technically a sequel. I don't really consider it a sequel. It takes place almost immediately after Return of the Jedi. I don't consider that a sequel. It's not going into the any of the quote unquote, and I mean the biggest quotes here, the world building of the sequel trilogy, the setup of that, and it's barely bringing that up. It is trying to get away from the mainstream Star Wars, and I don't blame it. I don't blame it for trying to do that because no one wants to touch that. No one wants to touch that giant turd. But it's trying to stay away as far as possible. This one, I think, wants to stay away too, but it doesn't want to do the Knights of the Old Republic because a certain someone made all previous Star Wars content not canon anymore. All the EU content, all the Knights of the Old Republic stuff, Revan, Thrawn trilogy, all of that's legends now. Cade Skywalker, all that, all those awesome stories are no longer canon, and they don't want to actually do the world building. They don't want to actually go back thousands of years and actually, you know, um, do 30 years of world building. And again, I don't blame them because that's a lot of hard work. It took them 30 years to build up all this shit, and it's just flushed down the drain in a couple of years. So I don't blame them for not wanting to leave that era because that era is a really it'd be impossible to please anyone with that. Anyhow, The High Republic takes place apparently 200 years before the Skywalker saga, and will focus on a whole new group of characters and interesting things. Here's the thing, though. This already reeks of something bad because at the very end of the day, not like they've even said there have been no Sith for over thousands of years. They thought the Sith were extinct, and they're 1,000 years of peace. That's why no one really goes over this era of the Jedi between what used to be the Knights of the Old Republic and the 4,000 year leap to the the modern Republic. So that's why no one really goes through that because not a whole lot of changes between then and there, and it's been relative peace. Not to say there aren't interesting stories that can be told or interesting insights, but it's definitely been relatively peaceful for 4,000 years. So a lot of people don't usually cover it. Not saying that there isn't anything interesting or new or unique you could have done. There are definitely stories from that time period. It's just that they're nowhere near on par with some of the better stuff. Because at the end of the day, the Jedi thought the Sith were extinct. It's stated point blank in the prequels that the Sith haven't been seen in thousands of years. So how you're going to make that work, I guess you could look into it. It would be definitely interesting, and I would actually be kind of interested if I didn't see what these guys were doing. Now, let's look at this whiteboard. Now let's look at this whiteboard. This whiteboard, in my opinion, just pretty much solidifies everything wrong with not only just Star Wars, but like modern writing in general. How not only are these people who work on stuff like this, like for Marvel and stuff, are just creatively bankrupt, but how little understanding of what makes a good story and what makes what they're working on unique and special and interesting. You got 3 columns here. One says fiction, one says Star Wars of the heart, so I'm assuming that's what people like about Star Wars, what they're assuming people like about Star Wars anyway. And Star Wars wishes, which I'm just going to say it's ideas that they had written down in their high school notebook that never got off the ground, so they're gonna squeeze it into the Star Wars universe for the sake of getting recognition for their ideas that they don't have the originality or talent to do on their own. So let's look at the first one. First column is for fiction. What makes good fiction, I guess. And coming from someone who's been studying world building and fantasy and all these other aspects of what makes a good fictional story, this just looks like a mess. I don't know what else to say. This is a mess. I don't know what the hell they were thinking with this. Okay, what were they thinking with this? Let's look here. Authentically lived in. So just a setting. That's not, a setting. You do need a setting. You already have one. You already have a setting. It's the Star Wars universe in a galaxy far, far away a long, long time ago. That's the setting. And hell, technically you didn't make that. George did. George already has the setting. So the whole authentically lived in thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me anyway. It's just the setting. I think you're trying way too hard to sound like you know what you're doing when you clearly just want to sound like you do. Okay, let's see here. Surprise. I don't know what that is. Do you mean like something people didn't expect? Subverting expectations, you might say? I legitimately don't know what they mean by surprise. That's not a word we commonly use when talking about, fiction. That's more of a story element, maybe. Not really something you'd see in fiction a lot. I mean, you would see surprises in fiction, but it's just a weird word to use to describe that. What's going on with that? That's just, again, feels like you couldn't find the right word. You could literally put something like creativity, imagination, different perspective, something, anything. But like you picked surprise. The first one you could have just said setting, and I would have given you points. You said authentically lived in to sound pompous, and now you say surprise, and that's such a general word that I don't think it really fits. Just weird. Diversity, and when I say diversity, I think you mean not actual, differing ideas, unique perspectives, you know, clashing ideology, stuff like that. I think you mean the cookie cutter lazy diversity, the one where as long as you have a lot of brown people in it, or people who have different sexual orientations and stuff like that, which is fine. But when you have to write it down, like check it on a box, it really does show. It really does show how little you actually care, because something like diversity usually comes naturally, and you don't have to exemplify it. That's something you shouldn't have to exemplify. That should just come naturally. So that just proves to me that this is something you're going to be pushing. That's just going to mean, look how diverse we are. And if someone criticizes you, you're going to say, well, there's diversity in fiction. Yeah, there is. There's definitely diversity in fiction, but at the end of the day, when you have to like say we're gonna have brown, like basically you're just gonna do, we're gonna have different colored skinned people in this, and maybe they're probably gonna do something like, oh, it's Star Wars, they're probably gonna have like non-binary people in it, which is fine. I don't mind non-binary, gay people, bisexual people, trans people, whatever. But when you have to like exemplify it, that's what gets on people's nerves. It doesn't empower people. It makes them feel like a sideshow attraction that you want to tote around like this. We're into it. We got brown people here. We got a bunch of different skin color people here. It feels very shallow, basically. It feels shallow when you have to exemplify that, when it should just come naturally in a story that doesn't care about it. That's just me. This whiteboard is killing me. Okay. An actual ending. Um, I don't know what that means. Does it mean like you're going to have an ending for this? Again, I don't really know what this is. I think it's it says, they say it's going to be like over multimedia. So is this going to be like an ending to some sort of arc or saga? Because, like I said, the Jedi, at this point, the Jedi Order is well established. The Republic is pretty much almost completely in power. What ending to the story? And plus, we know every story has an ending. That's not something exclusive to fiction. That's just basic. That's storytelling 101. Feelings. Yeah, humans have them. Humans have emotions. Who knew? Relatable characters. Okay, again, not exclusive to fiction. I don't know why that's there. Yeah, relatable characters. That can be in anything, not just fiction. Sweeping and epic. Honestly, you don't need everything to be sweeping and epic to be a good fictional story, to be a good fantasy, but I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one because it's the closest you've actually gotten to understanding what makes good fiction, I guess. Humor. Again, that's just a basic story concept. Like feelings and relatable characters. That's not exclusive to fiction. Again, it feels like this whole thing was just written out to show we know how to write a good fictional story, guys. Trust us. We know. We know. We have a good idea of how to do this. Okay, that made my brain hurt. That insulted my intelligence. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's see. People love about Star Wars. Well, people loved about Star Wars is the adventures, the characters, the the ideas of the Force that are definitely within the story. How the characters deal with that inner conflict of the Force. That's something we usually love. We love the atmosphere. We love the setting. We love the lightsaber battles. We love the space battles and stuff like that. We love the again. We love the aesthetic of it. There's a lot to love about Star Wars. Some of it's deep, some of it's not so deep. But at the end of the day, we all love Star Wars for the same general reason. It's a great, vast, fun um, story of a group of stories in a world that we all want to live in, with characters who are relatable, likable, interesting, and again, it brings up concepts and ideas that are a lot deeper than we give them credit for. That's pretty much what everyone who loves Star Wars loves about it. I think that's the biggest draws of that. Let's see what's on here. Not pro-war. Yeah, it's never been pro-war. Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah, I understand why people are saying, "Well, you don't want pro-war." Well, that feels like, in my opinion, again, much like the whole diversity thing, that's not something that needs to be said. No one ever said in Star Wars that war is good. War is necessary in many scenarios. War is meant to establish order, whether you like it or not. It's meant to establish order. It's meant to make sure that certain bad people don't get into power. It's there to make sure that people don't bad people don't get away with stuff like that. No one likes war, but two things about war. Sometimes it's necessary, and considering you guys don't know what a freaking setting in instead of authentically lived in, war is a great setting for great conflicts and interesting character interactions and interesting ideas and stuff like that. War is actually a really good setting. No, I'm not disliking this because it says it's anti-war. I'm saying I dislike this because it's so obvious that Star Wars was never about war. It was never about being pro-war. It says it, like I said, war can be necessary sometimes, but it really baffles me. It, like I said, kind of like diversity, it doesn't really need to be there. It should just be naturally intertwined with the story. You shouldn't need a reminder that, hey, we're not promoting that war is a good thing. You shouldn't need a reminder that, hey, we need to have characters who are unique, different, and interesting. Which again makes me feel like this is going to be shallow. Speaking of shallow, droids. Yeah, droids are cool. I personally think they're a bit overrated. But yeah, droids are cool. I usually like it when Sith and Jedi duel off. Some of the best moments from the Clone Wars are Sith Jedi battles, and we see more of those, and they're awesome. They really are awesome. That's something that's kind of a rarity in Star Wars, but when they happen, they're amazing. But droids are cool, I guess. Again, like I said, it feels pretty shallow to say droids. People like droids. Scope. Okay, ding, 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 you got one. People like the vastness of the Star Wars universe. That's something we actually really do like. A lot of Star Wars fans, old and new, like the scope of the universe. That there's always these different planets, new worlds to discover, new aliens to look. Yeah, you got one. That's actually something we really like. Mythic. That would be in the fiction category. You guys put that in the wrong category. That would be more at home in fiction. I don't know why you have that in, that, but I'm like, okay, cool. But that goes that's a more general term that would work better in fiction. You guys are really trying hard, driving my patience here. I mean, it's just, wow. Okay, space and lightsaber battles. Again, yeah, that's something we want to see. I would like to see more of. Space battles don't really do a whole lot for me because they've been overused and are And of course, I hate to bring this up, but The Last Jedi kind of said, fuck you to space battles because you could space kamikaze them whenever you wanted. I know, Rise of Skywalker said, hey, it was a 1 in a million move. They don't explain how it's a 1 in a million move. It just looked like Holdo just did it. So I'm not really excited for like space battles anymore because I don't feel like because like the tactical decisions they've made in the recent Star Wars film, it just didn't build me to them. But I wouldn't mind more lightsaber battles as long as they're with characters who have depth and are interesting instead of just two people who have like two people who are just clashing swords together who barely know each other. But I would like more lightsaber battles and stuff like that as long as you do them right with the good characters. No single main character. That's untrue. There's always a main character in a Star Wars story. There's always a main character. That no, like I get what you're trying to say. Again, I kind of understand it, but like just because you focus on multitude of characters doesn't mean there's not a single main character. Luke was the main character of the OT. Anakin, main character of the prequels. Rey is the main character of the sequels. And in the Clone Wars show, the main character actually juggled between Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, or Anakin. So yeah, there is a main character. That's something that has to happen in a story. You need a main character. The Force, because that's just what it is. The Force has superpowers now. I don't care about the Force anymore. It's just like bending in Korra. It's just superpowers now. Anyone can get it. It's not a big deal. There's no complexity behind it. I don't care about the Force anymore. They broke it, and I don't care anymore. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't care about the Force anymore. Complicated monsters. Okay. You could have just said interesting creatures, interesting alien designs, but complicated monsters is a very juvenile way of saying that. So again, this is so out of all of this, you got, let's see here, you got about, I want to say at least 3. I'd say like I'm not going to say the Force because that goes more in the setting because you're in an established setting. Of course, you're going to hear about the Force. That it's going to be in there. And I guess you're trying to say what people love about Star Wars, and yeah, the Force is an essential part of the Star Wars setting. So I'm not going to give you that one. That's just common sense. Mythic is very much in the fictional column. I don't know why it's there. So I'd say you got scope, lightsaber duels and battles, space battles, and I'm gonna let Slime say complicated monsters. I would say interesting creature design, and leave it at that. You got some of these right, but a lot of this feels like you're just trying to sound like you understand Star Wars when you don't. Okay, let's see here. And now the one we've been waiting for. These are Star Wars wishes. These aren't what fans want, by the way. This is what this team wants. This is what these people who are in charge want. This diverse group of individuals come from all walks of life who all love Star Wars. And you know they love Star Wars because they got a Princess Leia notebook, one of them. So you know they love Star Wars. Star Wars wishes. Okay, let's see here. What's on your wish list? High Republic. I still don't know what the fuck that means. What does High Republic even mean? Like, what does that even mean? Does it mean like what? No, it doesn't make any sense. High Republic. What does the High Republic mean? Like, at the height of their power, the Republic was at the height of their power for over 4,000 years. Again, if we're going to assume by the, I'm assuming, considering that again, KOTOR is no longer canon, so I'm going to assume they've been in power and at the height of their power for over 4,000 years. So I don't even know what high, and even then it wouldn't be called the High Republic. But whatever. Relic Hunters. That sounds like a Saturday morning kids cartoon. That a guy had an idea for, but he'd rather just shove it into Star Wars so they can like do something with that. I don't know. Relic Hunters, which to be fair, they did do that in a lot of they did do that a lot in a lot of other Star Wars content, a lot of the other books, which I will say, yeah, that is something they did. Even Luke did that, hunted down ancient artifacts of the Jedi and Sith. So yeah, okay, fine, give me that. Um, that I mean, I guess that sounds interesting. I guess university. Um, a star. So basically you want to turn Star Wars into Harry Potter. Okay. I don't see how that's gonna work because the Jedi first of all, again, we've already had books like that called the Jedi Academy books. They were okay. I thought they were okay, but the whole university, like a Jedi school, what kind of mischief we're gonna get into? I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. You want Harry Potter? You want a Harry Potter? Like, I'm not even surprised at this point. You want a Harry Potter in Star Wars, just like they're trying to do Harry Potter in Marvel recently with like Doctor Strange is taking in a bunch of kids who are wizards, and we're gonna have like an X-Men type deal. Okay, fine, whatever. I think calling it a university instead of an academy is just a deliberate trying to. We're not. This is technically something new, something different, something something cool. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever, dude. Um, yeah, I don't really see that working out because the last thing I want to see is a bunch of kids just running around trying to figure out who stole the holocron from the Chamber of Secrets. Because that's something they're gonna do. Just trust me. I bet my life on it. That's what they're gonna do. Dinosaurs because quirky. We want to. It was a joke. We want people laugh, and if that's the humor, then it's gonna fucking suck. Also, we already have like dinosaur type creatures in Star Wars. So yeah, I don't. So yeah, that's already been done. I'm sorry. It's been done. It's been done better. You're not gonna top that. There's nothing you can do to top that. Representation and diversity. You know what I find funny? They put diversity on here twice, but they put one part as fiction has diversity in it, which I guess you could make the argument that it does, but it's not mandatory in a fictional setting. You don't need like Witcher. You don't need differing skin colors and skin tones and all that in a setting of a very Scandinavian. I'm not really sure where Witcher comes from. I think it's Scandinavian. Definitely more Germanic and Celtic roots. I think I'm gonna say. Um, but yeah, there's almost like no black people there because it's in a very northern part of Europe. So for fiction, that doesn't necessarily mean there has to be diversity in the sense of that in a fictional story to work. But I digress. The point I'm trying to make is, despite their, being saying you have diversity in fiction column, but you don't have diversity in the Star Wars column, but you have diversity in representation here in Star Wars wishes, as if Star Wars doesn't have diversity. Like we don't have black people and women, even though there are many examples of female and different creatures and different skin colors in Star Wars. There are plenty of examples that even in the mainstream films, you can find good examples of this. You don't have to look You don't have to look through any obscure stuff to get this. Even like off the top of my head, Naomi Sunrider, Ahsoka Tano, Luminara, Takshi, Asajj Ventress, Mace Windu, Lando Calrissian. There are plenty of diverse characters in Star Wars, but you say, there's those in fiction, and we want that in Star Wars, but it's not in the Star Wars column, as if we don't have any already. I wonder why that is. It's almost like you don't believe that Star Wars has diversity in it, and that it's something that needs more of. even though there are plenty of examples of actual diversity. Um, and I'm glad a lot of these, again, like I said, Naomi Sunrider, if you've read the canon, like the old canon, is quite possibly one of the most powerful Jedi who's ever lived. Like, she's on par with Grandmaster Luke with how powerful she is. She's probably one of the top 5 most powerful Jedi to ever exist. And she was like a game changer in terms of the lore, too. But you got rid of her because she's no longer canon anymore. I guess you want more of that, even though you had plenty of it. Plenty of it. Yeah, it's weird. It's like you're deliberately ignoring the past in order to push a narrative. Okay, Arthurian legend. Arthurian legend. Why? This is Star Wars. I understand that Lucas took a lot of inspiration from other things, but Star Wars overall has its own unique style and identity. And trying to put kingdoms and Knights of the Round Table and shit like that in a setting about Star Wars feels like, I don't even know, it just feels like you guys want something completely different. You guys don't want you don't want Star Wars to go in a new direction. You want something that you wanted, but Star Wars is a platform for you. Star Wars isn't an IP you want to work on or take in a different direction or do something new with. Star Wars is a platform for you to do whatever you want to do. Much like how Rian Johnson wanted to tell his own story. He didn't want to tell the story of Luke Skywalker. He wanted to tell the story of a disgraced Jedi who made a mistake from a never-ending cycle that doesn't make any sense, but I'm not going to rant about that today. I don't want to get into an hour-long rant about that, but let me just put it this way. Arthurian legend won't work here. Jedi fight not for a kingdom, but for order and the understanding of the Force, by the will of the Force, and they technically fight for the Republic too, but because that's how they keep order. And even then, they try their hardest to stay out of politics. And Arthurian legend is very heavily into politics. If you actually read them. So I don't like I said, these people have no idea what they don't want Star Wars. They want something completely different with Star Wars slapped on the label. I don't know what else to tell you. Rival houses. Why would they have rival houses? They all fight for the same reason. They fight for the Jedi Code. They fight for the Jedi Order. They fight for the Republic. They fight for the same reasons. Why would they have rival houses? Why? Why would they trivialize anything like that? Because Jedi don't seek power or dominance over one another. They seek order. They seek knowledge of the Force. They seek balance. They don't seek dominance over one another. That's a Sith trait. Sith have rival houses. They had those in the old canon because it made sense, because Sith is all about domination. Why would Jedi have rival houses? It's counterproductive and doesn't make a lick of goddamn sense. Oh my god, that's stupid. That's the part that pisses me off the most. These guys don't understand Star Wars. These guys don't care about Star Wars. This to them is a platform. They want to use this to not to tell a different story in the Star Wars universe. They're doing it to tell their own story by using Star Wars as a backdrop. They don't have to do any of the setting, any of the world building, be consistent with any of the pre-established rules, because they're going to ignore them. I can tell already. They're going to ignore a lot of it. Because again, like I said, most of the stuff they listen to Star Wars love is very superficial and very, some of it's just incorrect, and it's very condescending looking at it, because it's such a surface level view of what people love about Star Wars, and it's actually starting to piss me off a bit. But in any case, yeah, like I said, rival houses, dumb idea, doesn't make any sense in the terms of Jedi ideology. any sense in terms of Jedi Academy, any sense at all. You're trying to appeal to the YA novels who like Divergence and Hunger Games and Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter, by the way. I don't have anything against Harry Potter. Harry Potter's awesome. But you're trying to appeal to people who don't like Star Wars. And it's going to backfire. Okay. Rival houses, Sith Empire. How are you going to do a Sith Empire subplot when the Jedi think they've been extinct for thousands of years? I mean, yeah, the rule of two is still going, and they are in, like, Plagueis, and all of them are still, are still plotting and planning and stuff like that. But like this is really stupid because again, like, the Jedi don't like the Jedi would at least notice other dark Jedi and Sith over thousands of years and do something about it and bring it up. But the entire point of the prequels is that Sith haven't shown up for thousands of years. So this is a little weird. I don't know how you're going to work that into. Chaos Agents. Saturday morning cartoon villains. I can already tell. That's what it feels like. Chaos Agents. And splintering group of Force users. I guess Force users who don't belong to the Jedi or the Sith, which is something that's already been done before, not really a new idea. This is something we've already seen done much better. Yeah. So, yeah, this whole thing, I like I said, I love this because it kind of solidifies everything on Star Wars. You got people who are in charge who don't understand what makes Star Wars not only unique, but doesn't understand why people love it. This was made, and people are saying, "Oh, you're freaking out." Well, yeah, because this was made to prove that, oh, we get Star Wars, we understand Star Wars. And they clearly have only a surface level understanding of not only Star Wars, but from the looks of it, fiction in general, because that is a weird list to have for fiction. And some of it just doesn't make any sense. Those are just general story tropes you threw in there. And the one trope that I thought that the general story trope that's in Star Wars, which is mythic, should be like the first one on the goddamn list for fiction. So these guys don't know what they're doing. I'm going to sit back and watch this train wreck because they seem ambitious, which I will give them credit for, and they seem like they have some sort of plan, which again I'll give them credit for. But usually groups like this want to do whatever they want without actually going out of their way to get behind a singular vision. When you see stuff like this that are very general, shit at the wall type deals, it's really hard for people to just come together on what they want and when they want it. This is going to be a train wreck. I can feel it in my gut. This is not going to end well. Star Wars, like, people, like, I understand, yeah, people say, oh, well, it's 13 on trending and almost 2 million views, probably 2 million views at this point while I'm doing this. But yeah, I trust the YouTube algorithm and Disney as much as I trust my neighbor with my sisters, and my neighbor's a crackhead, by the way, and I would trust them with my baby sisters than Disney and YouTube and all these other algorithms trying to say this is something that people want. So yeah, this is going to be interesting, to say the least. But yeah, that concludes this little video. I didn't want to make this, but it just got so under my skin that I had to. I don't even care about Star Wars anymore, honestly. The sequel trilogy destroyed any and all interest and investment I had with this franchise. And honest to God, I'm just going to stick with the EU. But, this is just really dumb, guys. It just really epitomizes why people aren't interested in Star Wars anymore and why it's like bleeding out. Yeah, it made money. Yeah, it made money. $4 billion is nothing to scoff at. But look at merchandising. Look at Galaxy's Edge. Look at like overall investment. And the only time people talk about it is when there's drama. Because again, people are saying this sucks, and it's like, oh, Star Wars man babies don't like it. Can't please Star Wars fan. We gotta support this out of spite. And I'm just like, just look at it critically. Just look at it critically. This does not sound promising. This sounds like another High Guardian Spice scenario. These people don't actually care. Like High Guardian Spice, Crunchyroll doesn't care about anime. It cares about making their own content, making what they want, not what people want, or giving people what they want. This feels more like making what they want. Not what Star Wars fans want, but what they want. That's just me. So anyway, I'm going to conclude this video here. Jesus Christ, I'm depressed. Okay. Yeah, whatever.